In California, politicians are proposing tax hikes on businesses and the wealthy to pay for universal health care. But what exactly do they mean by wealthy? I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's a little bit off topic, but considering that, basically everyone can be impacted by this in the state of California, I think that it is of interest to landlords just as well as it is to everyone else. Now, basically, some politicians over there they're throwing out a wealth tax proposal so that they can pay for universal health care. And I found it quite interesting when I was reading this article, exactly what they consider to be the wealthy. And you might be a little bit surprised as well, because it's not exactly the Bill Gates and the Elon Musk types, okay? Now, before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think of wealth taxes, okay? So when they say a wealth tax, it's usually, they're targeting people who are wealthy so they can pay for social services or whatever. Was even a proposal to start taxing unrealized capital gains, which I thought was absolutely horrible. I mean, you can't tax people for what their properties or what their stocks might possibly be worth if you sold them, okay? The only way that you can tax anything is realized gains, okay? In my opinion. Now, obviously, there's people who disagree with me, but, I don't really listen to what they say because, it doesn't make much sense. Anyway, this article is coming from businessinsider.com, and it says, California Democrats propose tax hikes on businesses and the wealthy to pay for statewide universal health care. And I am not a fan of this whole universal health care thing, and it goes back into my hatred of socialism. And I really think that universal health care is a push straight towards that. So let's see what this article says. California Democrats are moving ahead with a proposal to introduce universal health care in the state, proposing tax hikes on businesses and the wealthy to pay for the first-in-the-nation plan. According to a report from the Associated Press, the plan has drawn opposition from Republicans, insurers, and some doctors in the state. California Assemblyman Ash Kalra proposed a constitutional amendment to pay for the plan. Yeah, and obviously, those people who are going to be most impacted by this are just all of the taxpayers that are forced suddenly to pay for all these people who are going to get health care insurance and not be paying enough to actually cover what they're using. So, you're going to have doctors who aren't going to be making as much money. You're going to have insurers who are going to lose just a ton of business and going to have to lay off. Insurers employ thousands upon thousands of people, so they're going to have to lay off a lot of employees. They're going to lose a lot of money with this sort of proposal. And of course, the wealthy. So the wealthy are the targets of this sort of tax, and they're the ones who are going to be paying so that the super low income people are getting this provided to them for free. Now, I'm not against us fixing our health insurance program and trying to fix health insurance costs, but I don't think universal health care is the thing that's going to do that. I don't think it's going to help much at all, and it's going to end up, kind of creating a situation where people have worse health care than they did before, and they're paying just as much, if not more. But let's continue, because they're about to tell you exactly who they consider wealthy for this new wealth tax. And I think that is the part that will surprise a lot of people who are watching this video. Under the proposal, businesses that make at least $2 million in annual revenue would be subject to a 2.3% payroll tax. Companies with at least 50 employees would be subject to a 1.25% tax, and employers who pay employees at least $49,900 would be subject to a tax of 1%, the AP reported. The proposal also calls for increased taxes on some of California's wealthiest citizens, including a 0.5% income tax on people earning at least $149,509, and a 2.5% tax for people earning more than 2.48 million per year, according to the AP. Now, remember what they said. Oh, this is a wealth tax. The wealthy, we're going to get the wealthy to pay for things. But suddenly they're like, oh, you know what? If you're making $149,000 a year, guess what? You're looped in with the wealthy. And hey, I mean, I make more than that, and I live in freaking Nebraska. Okay, so in California, there's a huge number of people who make that much money, and they're the ones who are going to end up paying to cover the healthcare costs for the people who don't make as much. Okay, and let's see here, 2.5% tax for people who make over 2.48 million a year, right? So, you know, obviously a lot of people are going to be like, oh, I don't feel much for those people. Those people are making, you know, 2.5 million a year. But keep in mind that California already has the highest taxes throughout the entire country for those people. They're paying effectively a 60% tax rate right now. So we're going to throw another 2.5% on top of that. Guess what's going to happen? More people are going to leave California. Okay, not just the super wealthy. We're talking about middle class people who are making $150,000 a year who are getting hit with this tax. They're going to be like, hey, there's no benefit for me to stay here in this state, you know, and I can move over to Arizona outside of Phoenix or Tucson. I can move over to Nevada. I won't even have a state income tax if I move to Nevada. So I'm going to, you know, carry my money and my family, and we're going to go and live 3 hours away, and maybe we'll come back and visit every once in a while. Okay. But they're not going to want to be paying these extra taxes. Now, as for these taxes on these businesses, if you have one employee and you pay that employee $50,000 a year, guess what? You're getting hit with this tax as well. So yeah, even small businesses are going to get just eviscerated by all of this. So we're going to, you know, just see this mass exodus from California, in my opinion, if more of these taxes come to be. Meanwhile, who's going to be left? Who's going to be left in the state of California if they pass these sort of laws, okay, and this sort of taxes? It's going to be the super rich, those people who can afford to live wherever they want. Doesn't really matter where they live, right? And the super poor, basically the service class for the super wealthy. So all of the middle class, they're going to be packing their bags. They're going to be getting out of there. That's why we saw a decline in California's population over the last census, okay? Because people can't afford to live there anymore. And they're stuck in a place where there's so many laws, rules, and regulations over everything they do, particularly, you know, for us landlords, you know, where you're just saying to yourself, hey, I can go over here to Arizona. That's where I used to live. I lived in Arizona, and there were a ton of former Californians living out there when I lived there. And why not? Aside from not having the ocean, everything out there in Arizona is pretty nice. I mean, you got great weather year round, you got decent housing costs, and the cities are big. You know, we're not talking about little small places, okay? Phoenix is a pretty large city that has everything that you could want or need. And if you want to go to the ocean, you're only 4 or 5 hour drive away, depending on what part of Arizona you're living in. You know, like when I lived in Tucson, it was about 5 hours to get down to San Diego. So, I mean, ocean isn't even that far away. So I don't see the benefit for people to stay, especially for the middle class. Now, obviously, the poor people, I mean, they're going to be doing great. But let's continue in the article, because there was another little provision they threw into this tax proposal that it rubbed me the wrong way. There are countless studies that tell us a single-payer healthcare system is the fiscally sound thing to do, the smarter healthcare policy to follow, and a moral imperative if we care about human life, Calra said, according to the Los Angeles Times. The main piece of legislation to establish the system, Assembly Bill 1400, would create what's called CalCare, which would be led by an independent board of directors, according to the LA Times report. The plan would grant California residents access to any doctor and a variety of medical services, per the report. The legislation also seeks to reduce costs to providers to bring them closer to the actual cost of care, and it intends to lower prescription drug prices, the report says. AB 1400 also includes long-term care for seniors and people with disabilities, and allows for medical care regardless of immigration status, the report said. And that is the biggest joke of all. So now we're telling the middle class, the people who are making $150,000 a year, they're still in the middle class, okay? We're not talking about the super wealthy here. But hey, you have higher taxes so that this person who entered the country illegally, living in the country illegally, working off the books without any paperwork or anything, they don't have to pay any of these taxes. But you do. You have to pay those taxes so that you can provide health care for that person. Now, that's a plain issue of fairness, in my opinion, and I am 100% against that. So, yeah, watch out for this sort of thing. And in my opinion, if you live in California, if this sort of law passes and you're a wealthy person, or heck, even if you're middle class, get out of there, okay? California doesn't deserve your money any more than anywhere else does. You know, you could be treated much better elsewhere.